Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Gora Haribo. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Sakhi Vrinda ki jai, Shri Shri Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Shri Palad Lakshmi Nrsingadeva ki jai, Grantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitam Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasa Tato Jayamudiraye Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This morning we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. How fortunate we are. People are reading so many things. We are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Prabhupada called the beautiful story of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we're reading from Canto 2, Chapter 2, which is called The Lord in the Heart. And we are reading verse number 34. We can chant together in sequence. Bhagavān brahma kārtsnyena Bhagavān brahma kārtsnyena trir anvīkṣya manīṣayā trir anvīkṣya manīṣayā tat adhyavasyat tat adhyavasyat kūṭa-stho tat adhyavasyat kūṭa-stho ratir ātman yato bhavet ratir ātman yato bhavet bhagavān brahma kārtsnyena trir anvīkṣya manīṣayā tat adhyavasyat kūṭa-stho ratir ātman yato bhavet. Others can lead. Srila Prabhupada once said if we chant the verse 10 times, we'll have it memorized. What do you think? No? No faith. Okay, what does it mean? Bhagavān, the great personality Brahmā. Brahma, the Vedas. Kārtsnyena, by summarization. Trir, 3 times. Anvīkṣya, scrutinizingly examined. manīṣayā, with scholarly attention. Tat, that. Adhyavasyat, ascertained it. Kūṭa-sthaḥ, with concentration of the mind. Ratir, attraction. Ātman, and then in parentheses, ātmani. Unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Yataḥ, by which bhavet it so happens. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Shall we repeat together? I don't know what is our tradition here, but maybe it's good to get it in. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas three times. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Yes. Purport. Sri Shukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. That's a long time ago. Although Brahmaji was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality of Godhead, in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas, Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas. And after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, directly presented by the personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavada ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 42. And so ends Srila Prabhupada's purport to this verse, Bhagavān, Brahma kārtsnyena trir anvīkṣya manīṣayā tad adhyavasyat kūṭa-stho ratir ātman yato bhavet. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Nice. I thought to start by giving a little explanation of what commentators do when they write commentaries on Scripture. They do 5 things. Let's see if I can remember them. The first is padacheda, which means dividing the words. Because as you've probably noticed in all of Srila Prabhupada's books in which the Devanagari script is there, it's not divided up as it is in the transliteration, the Roman transliteration. It's kind of all merged together, or it seems to be. So this padacheda, this dividing process, Srila Prabhupada gives us in his transliteration, at the same time that he gives us a translator. He transliterates into Roman script, which for Westerners like myself may be easier to read than the Devanagari. So there's padacheda, and then there's padartha ukti, padartokti, padartha ukti, stating the artha, the meaning of the words. And that's what we're getting in the word for word. The word-by-word translations, Bhagavān, the great personality, Brahmā, Brahmā, the Vedas, and so on. Then they may explain something about the grammar. This is called vigraha. They're clarifying or explaining some aspect of grammar so that we can get the syntax to get the meaning of the word, of the verse. Then we get what is called vakya yojana. Vakya, the sentence, the statement, the meaning, that's given by Srila Prabhupada in the translation. So it's translating into another language, but it's also giving the clear sense of what the verse is saying. The way Sanskrit works is because of the nature of Sanskrit, you don't have to put the words into a certain order. They can be, in practically speaking, any order. But to understand what order they would be to make sense, then the commentator will do this vakya yojana. And then there's one more function of the commentator, and that is akshepa samadhana. Akshepa can mean objection, and samadhana can mean addressing, dealing with. So if there's typically objections to what's being said in Shastra. Someone who is perhaps a little proud or perhaps ignorant will make some objection. How is this so? I don't accept this. So that will be addressed by Srila Prabhupada, especially in the purport. And if you look carefully through a purport, you'll see what the objections might be that he's addressing. In this case, there can be any number of objections, and we can say the general objection or doubt is addressed in the verse itself. the objection being possibly a question, or in the form of a question, what is the purpose of the Vedas? Or is there any purpose to the Veda? The Veda is... Veda can be understood in two ways. One is, it's a certain collection of texts, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva, Upanishads, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Dharma Shastras. And then if you extend from Shruti and add Smriti, then of course we have the epics, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and the Puranas, and then above all of them, we understand there is the Srimad Bhagavatam. As is quoted here on this book stand, Krishna Svadamo Pagate, Dharma Jnana Divisaha Kalo Nashta Drishamesha, Puranarko Aruno Udita. Yes, this Sun Purana has arisen in this age of Kali when the Lord, together with Dharma and Jnana, disappeared. So all of this can be understood as Veda, but also Veda can be understood in a broader sense. Veda can mean knowledge. And Srila Jiva Goswami says, I think he gives some percentage, that we have only a small fraction of the Vedic literature available to us. And then he goes through a process in his Tattva Sandarbha, a process of elimination that reduces down what could be possibly useful for us to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we end up understanding, okay, just read Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we have such a statement as this, that Lord Brahma, actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the Lord himself, not Lord Brahma. This is bhagavān. Prabhupada sort of brings these two together. He harmonizes by saying Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. So we don't have to see a disagreement there. In any case, the Lord himself, or the Lord as Brahma, he's gone through all the trouble, not once, not twice, but 3 times, studying the Veda, and he came to a certain conclusion. And what is that conclusion? Ratir ātman yato bhavet. That rati, attraction for ātman, actually ātmani, the commentators say, the self. Which self? Well, that can be discussed, because the word ātman can be taken in different ways. Yes, tvatma ratirevasyat, atma triptas chamanava, ātman yevatmana tushta tasya karya na vidyate. The word atma comes in Bhagavad Gita, chapter chapter 3. That Atma comes 3 times. What does it mean? It can mean the self, or it can mean the Supreme Self. In any case, one can take it from the Bhagavatam. One can save a lot of time to understand what is the goal of the Veda. It is this. This is the goal. One can take it that way, and one can take it that way in light of another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, which Srila Prabhupada refers to in the previous verse. You all know this verse. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavang mang prapadyate sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sindurlama Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada explains in one lecture that many lives, after so many lives, someone understands Vasudeva is everything. Reading that, hearing that, an intelligent person can come to the conclusion, well, instead of wasting so many lives, why don't I just accept? Why don't I just accept that Vasudeva is everything? Saves a lot of trouble. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of trouble. So one could, in a similar way, take this verse, bhagavān brahma kārtsnyena. Well, Lord Brahma, he's done all the work. And hey, he's Lord Brahma. Or Bhagavān, the Supreme Lord himself. I find it interesting that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains, it's the Lord himself performing a leela. He is taking the mood of the munis when he's studying the Veda 3 times. As Prabhupada says in the purport, just like a scholar. Scholar means the munis. The munis are, what do munis do? They're generally practicing mona. And so they're silent. And what are they doing while they're silent? They're listening, they're hearing, they're reciting, they're studying attentively, anvīkṣya, scrutinizingly examining. So the Lord is playing a part of a muni, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur even quotes some Shruti passage to say the Lord appears as a muni to study the Veda. The Lord doesn't have to study the Veda, right? Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyaha. Vedanta krit, vedavit, eva cha aham. Right? So the Lord is vedavit, he knows. You could say, of course, oh, now he knows because he studied it 3 times. Yeah, you could say that because there is an understanding, and this can be a point of perhaps of discussion. We understand the Vedas come from the Lord. Vedaischa sarvairaham eva. Vedanta krit vedavit. I am the knower of the Veda. I am giving the Veda. But there is also the understanding that the Veda is apauruṣeya. And that can be taken in 2 different ways. One is no Purusha, no ordinary Purusha has spoken, has given the Veda. But another way of understanding, and this is the sort of more traditional, orthodox, mimamsaka way of understanding, is it's not spoken by anyone, including God. It's always there. Veda is eternal, and it's simply emitted from, it's repeated or it's emanating, but it's always there. Well, in any case, we can take it, okay, there's so much Veda, and I really don't have a whole lot of time. It's already quite some effort for me to, spend an hour a day to read, and I know that's not going to get me through all the Vedas. So what to do? Well, I'm going to take the word of those who have done all the work. And considering who those are, or who that person is, the Lord himself, or Lord Brahma, who is a qualitative incarnation of the Lord, I'm in good shape. I'm safe to assume that this is the case. What is the case? Ratir ātman yato bhavet. And again, I can be confident that this is good information or reliable information because kūṭa-stho, the Lord, let's say Lord Brahma, is literally kūṭa-stho, on top of the heap. That's what kūṭa-stho means. Kūṭa means the top of something, the top of a mountain. And stha means standing or situated. So it comes to mean undisturbed. Undisturbed. So because he is undisturbed, he can concentrate, he can completely comprehend, and he can therefore understand purpose. Prayojana. So it's interesting. There's two elements, I would say, to this verse. We understand from Chaitanya Charitamrita that the Bhagavatam, the entire Vedic literature, it's all about three things: sambandha, abhideya, prayojana, right? This verse seems to be especially about abhideya and prayojana. We could say especially about prayojana, about the goal, because it's about this conclusion. Rati, attraction, is the whole point. But it's also about process, isn't it? Why is that? Because it's giving a description of a process that Lord Brahma takes. He studies, and he studies carefully, and he studies attentively, and he keeps on studying. He doesn't do it just once, not twice, but 3 times. How many of you have read Bhagavad Gita 3 times? Many of you. Many, probably some of you many more times than 3 times. Have you noticed that each time you read, something more comes out? Yeah. This is what one scholar has called religious reading. Religious reading, in contrast to what he called consumer reading. This particular scholar, a scholar of religion in America, who is himself, I happen to know, a religious person, was sort of railing against the academy. He's a professor in the academy, and he's written a book which he explains, I'm writing a polemic book. Don't mind. But he is quite strongly arguing that modern education, what is it? It's become consumer. It's all about consumer reading. You read something. I remember this from my university days. When you started the semester, you'd find out that you'd get the syllabus and you'd get the list of books that the textbooks, and you'd go to the bookstore and you would buy the books. And if possible, you would get used books because they were cheaper. Because the students, typically from the previous semester, previous year, they would take that course, and when they were finished, they would sell the book back to the university and get a small amount of money in return. Why? Because for them, they're finished. They don't want to read it again. I did the course, I passed the course, now I'm going to promptly, studiously forget everything that I learned. That's the attitude. But we are interested in, we could call it religious reading, and we can say that's what the Lord is doing here. There is, some of you may know, I found it interesting, there's a long tradition of religious reading in the West called Lectio Divina. Lectio Divina. It goes back centuries in the Christian tradition, and some of the saints of the Christian tradition, they developed a quite systematic process of this practice, and it has four. Do you want to hear? It has 4 stages. So the first one is lectio. That's the reading, but their reading is with the idea that this is the Word of God, and so they're reading with the sense of what they call the Holy Spirit, what we may want to call Paramatma, with the sense that Paramatma is present in the words. So there's this this first step of lectio, and after this, the next step is meditatio. Guess what that means? Meditation. Yes, a meditation is a reflection. And here we might find the parallel in our own tradition, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, which is hinted at in the Upanishads, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and then it's elaborated, I believe Shankaracharya does so. Okay, meditatio, so you've heard, you've read. Now some reflection on what you're hearing, and this means you're starting to bring yourself into the process. There's a receptivity, and there's also there's a dialogue, and this comes out especially in the third step, which is called oratio. Oratio, oration, we might say in English, means prayer. Being prayerful. So prayerfully reading, and the understanding in the Christian tradition is prayer is a process of dialogue. You are communicating with God. You are speaking to God. And you are listening for God's response. I think that's quite nice. Well, that's 3 stages, and then they conclude with what is called contemplatio, contemplation. And I think this is where the nididhyasana is there, what I like to call digestion. We prepare a meal, we offer to Krishna. If Krishna's very kind, he may leave something for us. He might take it all. And then, if he leaves something for us, we can then respect. Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur says we don't, he says Vaishnavas don't eat. What? Everyone's silent at this point. Oh my God. So, he says Vaishnavas don't eat. Vaishnavas respect prasadam. They honor prasadam. Okay, so we honor prasadam, and what happens then? We take prasadam, we know it goes into our body, and then it's all magic. I mean, think about it. How complicated that process is of digestion. That's another subject. But the point is, we want to not just hear, going in one ear and out the other. I'm very much lamenting my own lack of memory. Yesterday, as I was thinking, okay, what am I going to speak on today? I thought, I remember the last time I was here in Mayapur, which was about 3 years ago, Vaisheshika Prabhu gave a wonderful class, Bhagavatam class. And what do I remember from that class? I remember, one, it was wonderful. And two, I remember he had a very interesting technique, which I thought to try, but as it turns out, I'm not doing. What did he do? He started out his class after reading the verse and the purport and so on. He made 2 points. And then he stopped and he said, are there any reflections on these 2 points? And then there was some very nice discussion about those 2 points. And then he continued his class and he made 2 more points. And then he asked again, are there any reflections on these 2 points? And there was very nice discussion, and we were all very enlivened. But here is my lamentation. I don't remember what any one of those 4 points was. I would need to be prompted. I'm not completely, I feel it is not completely hopeless. Something goes inside, right? Something gets digested, and we keep hearing and we keep hearing, and something sticks, hopefully. That process is there. Well, so I wanted to highlight these points, and maybe you have some reflections on the things I've said so far, but I think what we want to, as they say nowadays, take with us is, what is all of this for? It's for rati. And what is rati? Rati is attraction. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says it is the beginning of prema. So if we can get on the boat of prema, of bhakti, and of course all of this is affirming or confirming what was in the previous verse, which said, I'm sure you all remember, for those who are wandering in the material universe, there is no more auspicious means of deliverance than what is aimed at in the direct devotional service of Lord Krishna. And so we get warnings in the first canto, second chapter. How does it go? Dharma svanushtita pungsa vishvaksena katasuya notpadayat yadi ratim shrama eva hi kevalam. It's a big waste of time unless there is utpadaya, there is an arising of rati. And we also get a nice tip, or more than a tip, guidance from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami in his manīṣayā, the first verse. Let's see if I can remember this one. Guru goshte goshtalayishu sujane busuragane swamantre shri namni vrajanava yuvadvanva sharane sada dambam hitva kuru ratim apurvam atitaram aye svantar datas svantar bratas chatubirabiyache drita pada. He says, worship, first of all. Guru, Goshta, he gives a list. We worship the Guru, the residents of Vrindavan, the Suragana, and we worship the Lord, Radha and Krishna. And, he says, Hitva, Sada Dambam Hitva, having given up, what is Damba? Pride. So giving up pride. When should we give up pride? Right now? Yes. And also, Sada, always. Always. Do I have to always give it up? Yes. Raghunath says we have to always give it up. Then Kuru Ratim, very interesting. Kuru, it's not the Kuru dynasty. Kuru is It's in the imperative form, and it means do. It's from the verbal root krit, karma, all of those words, to do. But it also means to make. Make rati, do rati. What kind of rati? Apurvam, that which is unprecedented. Something which is out of this world. I like, some of you may know Mahatma Prabhu's little very nice book called Japa Affirmations. Who knows, who has this book? It's a very good book. Japa Affirmations. It helps you in your japa, I guarantee. And one of his affirmations is, when I chant japa, when I chant my rounds, I turn off my world and turn on Krishna's world. Click, click. I turn off my world. I turn it off. My world, don't worry about your world. It'll be there when you end chanting your japa. But I turn it on. I turn on Krishna's world. That's how we can aspire for kuru ratim apurvam atitaram, excessive ratim. Do we want to get beyond these mundane considerations? What do you think? Yeah, we want to get on the boat. I'm already on the boat, we say. Yeah, okay. Every day it's a new start, isn't it? A new challenge. Okay, I'm going to end, but I can't resist. Well, maybe I could resist. But with your indulgence, there's a new rule that was established by the GBC some years ago, which I think is a good rule, that one should not promote one's own books from the Vyasa-san. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to promote the book of a godbrother. And the book is Kalakanta Prabhu from America, from Florida. And it's called Bhagavad Gita, The Wrath of God. It's a play on words. The wrath of God. It's a very Christian idea. The wrath of God. No, this is the rap of God. No, R-A-P, rap, as in music style, rap music. Okay, so can I give you just a little sample of this? Now you have to imagine, but keep it in your mind, okay? Inside your head, but you have to a little bit imagine some rap music in the background. What is he doing? This is Srimad Bhagavatam class. Oh my God. Okay, I'm taking from chapter 6. He's given a translation of the entire Bhagavad Gita, but in a particular style. He wants to reach young people. This is from chapter 6, verses 18 through 28. When you advance in yoga, you will enter into trance. Your mind will toe the line and give the simple life a chance. You'll burn just like a lamp within a cave with steady flame, your mind immersed in spirit with a perseverant aim. Desire on hold, you see the soul, and boundless joy commences as recognized and relished through renewed transcendent senses. And as your joy keeps growing through life's painful intercessions, you'll come to value yoga as your number one possession. You'll easily continue with unprecedented grit as lust and guesswork fail to equal yoga's benefits. Intelligently, step by step, convinced and gaining traction, absorb yourself in spirit and ignore the mind's distractions. And when your flickering, unsteady mind roams here and there, regain control, protect your soul, and scrutinize with care. Your mind on me, your passions eased, you'll feel great ecstasy. As karma fades, your soul displays your true identity. Then, pure and purged of all pollution, perfectly advanced, you'll run away and stay with me in pleasurable trance. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. I need to apologize. I wanted to give more time for discussion, but maybe that can go on in different ways. I don't have much time myself because I have to get back for another online meeting, but I see Gandharvika Mataji is very eager to ask or say something.
Thank you very much. It's a very stimulating class. Maharaj, I was hoping I was thinking that you were going to mention the monumental work of Kalakanta Prabhu when he's doing this in a poetic way, the whole Bhagavatam. I wonder where he has reached so far.
I don't know. I'm sorry to say I don't know how far he is. And I'm looking forward to this also. He's really expert.
It's amazing work that
is
done on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And
yes.
also, you reminded me of Atma Tattva Prabhu. Earlier, similar to your class today, had given a long time ago a class where he says 4 books are enough.
Yes.
So he gives a whole summary of what you were saying. And then he concludes with the Nectar of Devotion, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Chaitamrita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. It's amazing class on that way.
Thank you. Yes, so this is Srila Prabhupada gave us the essence in 4 books. That's a fact.
Thank you very much. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Maybe we have time for one more comment or question. No? Oh, yes, here.
Thank you so much for class. I was wondering, I've had this question for some time actually. This word ātman, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's oftentimes mentioned, and it's often translated differently according to the verse. And some senior devotees have helped me, say that sometimes Prabhupada uses the Prabhupada elevator, the bhakti elevator, and even though the verse might be talking about something, Prabhupada
shoots up.
He shoots up, and it's been a little difficult for me to understand why that happens.
Yeah. Okay, the word ātman, the philologists tell us that its earliest meaning was simply reflexivity. So just like we say in English, I myself have done it. So that myself comes in Sanskrit as ātman. And I'm saying ātman because that's the uninflected form of the word. I won't go into that. Ātma in the nominative case, and so on. So, but it comes to then, because of this reflexivity, it comes to mean, also within our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, it mean body, it can mean mind, it can mean, we say, soul, and it can mean the Supreme Soul. It has that multiplicity of meaning, and therefore we look to our acharyas to see how they take certain words. That's a big topic, but Srila Prabhupada, as you said, the bhakti elevator, he's He's criticized for that, some scholars have, but what's Prabhupada doing? He's simply following our acharyas, and specifically with Bhagavad Gita, he's following Baladev Vidyabhushana, who is at every step saying this is about bhakti. Sort of more broadly, people will say it's about karma and jnana and yoga and bhakti, or karma yoga, etc. No, it's all about bhakti, right? So that's the Vaishnava understanding. And the elaboration of why that's the case, you could say, Jiva Goswami gives his entire bhakti sandarbha, or the Shat Sandarbhas, all of the Sandarbhas. So yeah, there's some words like that. Rahasya, whereas it Prabhupada translates as devotional service, and you look and think, wait a minute, Rahasya does not mean devotional service, it means secret or confidential. But then you look at Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary, and he's explaining Rahasya. Yes, it means confidential. And what is controversial? Bhakti yoga. So Prabhupada is just giving it straight. He doesn't want to waste. He doesn't want to waste time. He doesn't want to waste our time. Like that. Okay. Thank you all very much. I wish you a wonderful day today. Srila Prabhupada.